Thank you for joining me on the last segment of today's show to talk about one of my favorite segments, one of my favorite traditions, you could say, I guess, from the NFL is this annual top 100 player rankings that come out each offseason. The NFL Network does this annually, like I said, over the previous seasons. And this year's rendition of the top 100 started on Monday, on July 22nd, and every weekday since then will receive 10 more players that they reveal each weekday as it counts down to August 1st or August 2nd. I got a lot of conflicting reports on when the final day will be, but August 1st or 2nd will be the final day of this, and it'll be where the top 10 will be released. And I think this player rankings, is my favorite just because it is done by the players. You always see the videos come out on what they say about who's ranked where and why they're ranked where, and it is pretty entertaining, but also you get a good feeling. I think this one's the most accurate one on just how your peers evaluate you, how the players that play your position, how the players that battle against you really value you among 100 NFL players, and that's not even enough for really all the great players that you see. A lot of them were probably left off of this list, but when I wanted to react to this, I made this segment when the top 100 to 81 were released. So I know since then, I think they're up to 61 now after today. So I'm sure I'll react to some more of it. But to get through the top 100 to 81, I'm not going to go through every pick, but just some takeaways I had for where some of these guys landed on the rankings. Starting off with 100, the last ranked player on the top 100, Zaire Franklin. I wanted to bring him up just because he made the list for his first time. After a career year, it earned him the number 100 spot. He had 179 combined tackles, which was a career best, 107 solo tackles, which both of those numbers were only second in the NFL to, I believe, Bobby Wagner. So a rising star there for the Indianapolis Colts, their middle linebacker there in Zaire Franklin. Good for him to make the list at such a young age after breaking onto the scene in 2023. Then you move on a little bit further to Terry McLaurin at number 97. It seems like he always makes the list, but even though he's had 10 different starting quarterbacks since he entered the league in 2019, which is crazy. The consistency that this guy has, if he had a top-tier, top-talented quarterback, you can only imagine where he could go, and it's unfortunate that it's been 6 to 5 seasons now that we could finally see it, but hopefully we finally see that true potential now that Jaden Daniels is there. But seeing him on the list, not really surprising, but at number 97, I think context should matter a little bit. Maybe he could be a little bit higher, but that's just me. Devontae Smith also made the list again after last year. He was number 100 on this list, but now he jumps up 10 spots to number 90, and it still honestly feels pretty low for Devontae Smith. Again, not his fault that he's surrounded by the A.J. Browns, by the Dallas Goddards, the Jalen Hurtses, now Saquon Barkley as well. But just talent overall, how Devontae Smith has come in pretty much as pro-ready as any receiver we've seen over the last few years. It feels like he could be a little bit higher, 70s, maybe 60s for me, but he ranks in at number 90 this year. Talking about players ranked low, Saquon at 86, dropping 55 spots, is pretty crazy, pretty disrespectful to me. I know there's always the injuries, there's always just being on the Giants, and the team performance playing into it doesn't help at all, but this is a generational type of running back still. For how much he gives to the Giants at this point and how much he was their entire team, 86 is a little bit too low for me. Like, dropping 55 spots, you could drop 30 maybe. But 86 for Saquon, I think, was way too low. I didn't really like that one. A surprise that I saw on the list, number 82, Montez Sweat. After a career year, was a pleasant surprise for me to see him on this list because we've talked a lot about the Chicago Bears defense. We just finished talking about him on today's show and how much he really changed the trajectory of this Bears team to be decent, to be all right, to be at a different level almost pushing that elite level, I think says a lot. I like that he's on the list. I like that he got credit for it. I honestly didn't think he was going to, but to see him on here, to get him on the first top 100 player rankings for him in his career, and also earning a Pro Bowl on top of that, I think it's well deserved, and I liked seeing Montez Sweat on the list. Then, the two I wanted to talk about almost in the same breath is Aaron Rodgers coming in at 92 and Kirk Cousins coming in at 81. Why am I talking about them together? Well, a lot of people who saw the list come out initially had some issues with both of them being on the list, because you look at both of them, they both made the list with missing a lot of time. Aaron got hurt in the first game, so to still be included in this list, comparing him to someone like Saquon, of course they take in the career and what this player means, but in that same breath, if you're taking, the history part of Aaron Rodgers on who he is legacy-wise, and you still give him 92, you could arguably do the same thing with Saquon. Not as accomplished, but talent-wise in his career on what we've seen. If you're going to rank Saquon, or if you're not going to rank Saquon a little bit higher, rank him so low just based on who he is legacy-wise, Aaron, a lot of people argue that he shouldn't be on the list. Now, if he did play, probably played at a great level, a decent level that we're used to seeing out of Aaron, but that didn't happen. So just based on what we saw, maybe Aaron shouldn't have made the list, but he comes in at 92, so that's one thing. And then Kirk Cousins, same thing. To be rated higher, that much higher than Aaron Rodgers, he was on pace to have a historic season, but again, he missed a lot of time. I think it was week 5 or 6 that he got hurt, or somewhere around there. And from that point on, the Vikings, just fell apart after that. So for Kirk to be 81 in front of Saquon, even Aaron Rodgers, arguably even Montez Sweat, little questionable, but he did come in at the highest ranking of the range of players that I wanted to talk about. But he wasn't the biggest one I wanted to mention. We're going to close out this show again with me talking about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence came in at number 94. He was ranked the number 94th ranked player out of the top 100 best players in the NFL. He was number 96 last year, and after a poor year, to his standards, to a number 1 pick standards, in terms of passing yards, he was 10th in the NFL. In passing touchdowns, he was tied for 15th. Sam Howell also got 21 passing touchdowns, so he was right there with Sam Howell. Not to say that he isn't that much better than Sam Howell. Obviously, everyone's going to take Trevor Lawrence over Sam Howell, but production-wise, passing touchdowns were right there with Sam, and he was 4th in the NFL in terms of interceptions thrown by quarterbacks. So some probably thought that he could have been left off of this list. I saw some reactions that, based on the year that he had, that he could have been left off of this list, but that's one thing. I don't go that far. I wouldn't say that he shouldn't be in the top 100 players, but this is the highest paid quarterback, and his peers are ranking him where he did in the 90s. Out of the top 100 players ranked in the NFL, he's in the 90s, and it's not like, he missed like a ton of games. He probably missed the latter half of 5 or 4 games, even that, so that really doesn't serve too much of an excuse. They dealt with injuries in general last year to kind of fall apart there towards the end, but he was pretty much there the entire season, and it seems like the biggest gripe from most people, and I'll throw myself in there, that so far through Trevor Lawrence's career, it's always been about almost giving him the benefit of the doubt, because he was this generational quarterback coming out of the draft. He was sensational at Clemson for such a young player to come in, then drafted number 1 overall. Not the ideal situation to come into with Urban Meyer, but since then, Doug Peterson has been there. They've looked good, but still you want to see more out of Trevor Lawrence, and for him to be ranked at 94, highest paid quarterback in the NFL, ranked that low, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Burrow missed more games, I believe, than Trevor Lawrence, and no way is he going to be ranked lower than nobody's going to be ranked lower than 40-something. And Trevor was also there. Both of them highest paid in the NFL, but one of them is almost double the amount of spots behind the other one. And I don't think, again, that should be the case. I don't want to regurgitate the point about Trevor deserving the money. Great for him that he got his money. The Jaguars obviously think that he deserves this money, but I think there is something there with trying to justify this contract and based on production and future projections in terms of quarterbacks. And then you look at where his peers, the players that go against him, rank him right now. Very different in terms of where that money is going and where everybody else sees him in terms of ability compared to other quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers was ranked higher than him, and he didn't play at all last year. So that was my biggest thing. That was my biggest point of emphasis from this list because of all the reasons that I mentioned. But you guys should go check out the list. It's pretty interesting when the videos come out and things like that. But leave your guys' thoughts on the list, on my thoughts on Trevor, and where some of these players fell in the NFL Top 100. But that'll do it for today's show. We're going to wrap up on that. I want to thank you guys again for joining me on today's episode of the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the show, as well as following the network on all forms of social media. To catch more of this show, check out both YouTube channels, the GSMC Podcast Network channel and the GSMC Sports Network channel for different forms of content around the NFL as well. And as a final reminder, tune in every weekday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more NFL content, more storylines as they come out around the league. With me, your host, Manny Maradiaga, thanking you for joining once again, and I hope to see you guys back here with me again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. 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 Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to